Time to rocket from the Delta to the DMZ. Number 19 on the list, it's Good Morning Vietnam. Welcome to Long Play Video. The conversation about how to start a pod on this film is more interesting.
I want to hear those vocal cords. I want to see how high they go.
I just I'm not even I can't even attempt it. I think every pod that I've ever listened to has attempted it, and no one's got it right yet. So
we'll do it at some. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. You will do it in the studio. Perfect tester, right? That could be something to warm you up.
We'll get it on.
So what you say, Dad, doesn't matter. So we're going to use that.
We'll get it on the intro at least.
No.
So here we are, Saturday afternoon, down at the store, going through my 100 favorite films of all time, and at number 19, we've got another Robin Williams movie. I think the last Robin Williams movie, I'm fairly sure. So we've brought down our resident Robin Williams fan expert. Freddie's come back to the shop.
Hi, thanks for having me. I wouldn't call myself an expert.
Well, I mean, you're getting there because the amount of Robin Williams films that you've seen.
You're vastly getting there. Did we? When was the last? I was just thinking the last film we did. Oh, it was Sneakers, wasn't it? So you weren't on that, Freddie, but I'm sure you've already listened to it. But we were just mentioning about how Robin Williams and Robert Redford appear so much in Andy's list. And then your dad, Rob, was actually on the podcast and he was like, yeah, it must be something about the name. So every time these films come up now, I'm just going to be thinking about your brother and just thinking, yeah, I wonder if he can do this film.
He's my third favorite Rob.
Ouch.
Have you brought a video back to return as you return back to the shop?
Well, other than a recent one we watched for the pod, Thunderbolts actually we watched in cinema the other month, the new Marvel film.
Okay.
Any good?
I really enjoyed it. I thought, I wouldn't go as far as saying Marvel's back like a lot of people, but I would say they had a good film.
Yeah, okay.
They managed to do one good film out of the last 15. Well, I'm not sure that's a glowing praise, but
yeah, it was good. There was still issues with it, but yeah, it was good.
See, it's the youngsters. They're always in the new releases shelves, aren't they? They never go to the back of the store where the good movies are. It's always what's come out this week. We need to have a look. Always the same. I think I was the same. So yeah, here we are. So Robin Williams, number 19. It is the immortal Good Morning Vietnam, which obviously all throughout the pod will be resisting saying it out how he says it.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Or maybe we won't. That sounded a bit like you were doing a bit of Al Pacino doing Good Morning Vietnam as well. I'm not sure what was going on there.
Yeah, I've been auditioning for a part that he used to play, so that might be why. But okay. You ask me anyone else, I can do it in any actor's voice. So
you just keep doing it throughout the pod in different voices.
Well, once Freddie's seen it, he's going to pull out an absolute banger in part 2. I can tell.
Surely that's going to be the first reaction. So yeah, Good Morning Vietnam, 1987, so nearly 40 years ago, which is a bit crazy. This was obviously Robin Williams, and it's the perfect role for him because he gets to cook and do a lot of stand up. And also have a little bit of a serious side as well. Yeah, Freddie, I presume you know next to nothing of this film. Have you even heard of it, or do you know? Has it ever come up as a Robin Williams film that you're aware of?
I didn't know it was Robin Williams. I knew the film existed, but yeah, I have next to no idea about any of it.
Nice. And Kev, what seen it presumably, seen it a few times. Remember 20% of it, or
I mean, don't push your luck. I would say yes. I've seen it a few times. I do remember scenes from this. I do remember this being. I actually haven't seen this for a long time, but I do remember it being, or in my mind at least, a certain palace of sorts. I remember it being very good. Like, I think you're right. The balance of comedy in this, laced with the fact that it's I guess it's not a massive spoiler to say it's during the set during the Vietnam War. um so yeah, I mean, with that backdrop, obviously you wouldn't imagine, it's not necessarily very comical, but I remember the film being really good, like very well pulled together, good characters. Obviously I think Robin Williams, this is probably going to be up there with Aladdin as his best films, I think.
Yeah. I mean, this is just so perfect for him as far as kind of the being able to balance both the funny and then the quite poignant. And there's a few pieces where it is.
Yeah, I was going to say. So why is it on your list then? What you just did Vietnam history at school? Or...
Well, no, not really. But I think it's really interesting, like what Vietnam kind of means to us sort of generationally, because I think for us it was sort of Vietnam was in so much media and was so much so there were so many films, all that are quite sort of serious films. And so I was kind of, I don't know, growing up in the 80s, I think you were aware of it almost as like this thing that is in loads of movies. So you sort of know that it's really had an impact on like the sort of the consciousness of the US, and it still felt quite soon, but at the same time didn't know anything about it, obviously, as a kid, and especially as a kid growing up in England. We didn't really go into any of the details of it. So it's sort of it was this weird thing which is maybe quite a good analogy for the Vietnam War anyway, but it was sort of a very pop culture sort of thing, but like I didn't know any of it. I almost sort of knew it through the films that it was portrayed in.
So then what was it then why has this made it on the list then? Is it more from the fact that it pulls those two worlds together really well and you like that, or?
Yeah, well, I think because this sort of really represented the 60s to me and like growing up, because you've got like a soundtrack that is full of sort of 60s hits. I think this is sort of where I first listened to a lot of 60s music, because I had the soundtrack on CD, and that also had sort of bits of of Robin Williams sort of DJ tracks as well. So this almost sort of is the epitome of the 60s for me growing up, and was kind of then how I almost sort of was first exposed to the 60s and the Vietnam War as well. Because obviously all of the other films like Apocalypse Now and Full Metal Jacket and Deer Hunter, they're so serious. Obviously you just didn't you just didn't see them for ages and ages. So therefore so then watch this, and I think it kind of probably watched this on TV, to be honest with you, and so like a sanitized version of it. I think there's probably quite a lot that was edited out. And because Robin Williams is just a force of nature in it and has that kind of comedy element of it, it is a funny film, and a lot of the kind of DJ stuff is just him doing stand up, which is great. But then it also is set in the time, and a little bit sort of educational. And I think this is probably like the first Vietnam War film that I ever watched. That then I have obviously gone on and watched all of the classics about it, and I think this one like those are all quite heavy, so don't make
the best way to learn about the history. Definitely just watch all those movies. Full Metal Jacket, Apocalypse Now. So this is your favorite Robin doing the favorite thing that you love, podcasting. It's just amazing.
So, I mean, it's that's
what a dream.
I think it is pure stand-up comedy. I mean, it's weird to think that you're basically, it's like 12 years after the end of the war, which is just
it's not that long.
yeah, which is just sort of bizarre to think about because again, it just, I mean, it is set in the 60s rather than at the end, but it does
Yeah.
just sort of feel so in the past. But
Yeah.
obviously, you know, if you're an adult in the 80s, then yeah, then
It
it
wasn't.
wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wondered that's for you, Freddie, like where sort of Vietnam, yeah, kind of comes into your consciousness, and because obviously now, like, yeah, it's not as dominant in sort of yeah pop culture and stuff. Obviously, you know, other things have kind of taken on and taken over. So
It's a great holiday destination now, right? No, you just that's what you
Yeah,
well,
actually, it is.
thought.
Yeah, it's
yeah,
actually on a lot of people's lists. Yeah, no, I don't know. Actually, funny enough, on TV on Sunday was Guy Martin in Vietnam, and he was talking about it, and we were watching that.
yeah,
And yeah, I realised I didn't really know very much about the war or anything. Obviously, I know it happened. Um, One of my friends, his mum's from Vietnam, so they go back there a lot, and he sends photos, and we're always like, he like rides bikes around there and stuff. So yeah,
yeah,
to
Oh,
me, Vietnam's
wow.
just another place on the bucket list essentially.
yeah.
Oh,
Just
wow. So
another
you're actually
country to
probably
visit.
going to see more of it than we have. So you'll be looking at it going, oh, yeah, this looks familiar. I know these bits in the
Don't know about
photos.
that.
That's yeah,
Yeah.
it's so interesting just how it changes because I think yeah, you just
Mm.
say anyone of our generation, you say Vietnam, and yeah,
Yeah.
it does still have that connotation, right? And I think that I
Yeah.
mean for us, it was because of the media, obviously. Yeah, go back just kind of one generation or even half a generation. And it's because yeah,
Mm.
it's because of the war and the footage that was on on the news every night and stuff like that. Whereas for us, it
Yeah.
was just a movie thing, and now it's just a holiday destination, which is yeah,
Yeah.
it's
And I
funny
think
how
that's
it
the thing,
goes.
isn't it? There were just so many movies about it as well. And obviously, it's such a big part of American culture, which is
Mm,
obviously why you see so many American movies about it. But I think that's the thing. It's weirdly like it's a different form of indoctrination where like we hear about it so much from the UK because it was in all the films and you just go and see all the films. Whereas obviously for them, yeah, obviously it was lived and breathed on a much
yeah,
more, closer scale than it would have been for us. And so it's interesting, like, especially being British, it's quite nice to not be involved in a war, which is quite good. So
by that
it's like
stage,
looking
we
at it
just
from the
went.
other side. It's like, but what's been going on over there? What's happening?
Yeah, yeah, but I mean that is the thing, isn't it? You think, yeah, had we've been in America, then our parents
Mm,
would have most likely been drafted and stuff like
yeah,
that. Is sort of
yeah,
crazy to think about because
it's mad.
it never felt that close. Like I don't know, just because kind of
Yeah,
growing up here and because I guess you have sort of the remove of the of the timing as well as a lot of the films actually were made in the 70s while the war was still going on, so sort of in a weird way you're like, well, if they're making
mad.
movies of it, then obviously it must have happened a long time ago. I think that was kind of my mentality as a kid. It was like, well, you don't make make movies of a war that's
Yeah,
already still going
yeah,
on, whereas obviously they were, so it's like with the apocalypse
that
now
is mad.
it's like yeah, really close to yeah, it's like
Yeah,
4 years after the end of the war, right? So, um, yeah, I think
Yeah.
yeah,
I just
that's
looked it up. I didn't
weird.
realize how long it was. 55 to 75. That's absolutely crazy.
Yeah, well, I think the US only went there early 60s.
Oh, okay.
I think it was the
Wow.
French before then.
Oh,
Um,
classic.
classic French. Yeah, so yeah, I mean, I think yeah, for me it was yeah, like yeah, it's like a war movie, but it's got really good comedy in. Robin Williams is amazing in it. The sort of good supporting cast. It does have a little bit of a yeah, sort of a message and yeah, other things that are going on. It was definitely, and we've kind of yeah covered Robin Williams a few times, but it was definitely
Yeah.
like the role that allowed him to then go on and actually be a
To do
movie
Aladdin.
star.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to end in Aladdin. Or Night at the Museum, depending on where you see him ending. But like, yeah, before
Yeah.
this, he hadn't really. Yeah, I think he was a stand-up. He was still sort of touring and stuff. Whereas this actually allowed him to, to sort of make the transition full time into being a movie star, and then kind of the rest is history. So
Well, it's going to be an interesting one. I'll be very interested to see what you think, Freddie, of this. This is a different side to everyone's favorite Rob. So we'll see. I'll be interested to see what you think on this.
yeah,
What's the length, Andy? How long is it?
it's 2 hours. So
Yeah,
that's at
okay.
the 2 hour mark.
Standard
Good.
Andy runtime.
Yeah. I mean, would have been a long one it would have been quite a long one for the 80s.
Yeah, it would have been a bit longer, definitely.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I think but it works. Funnily enough, I've not seen it for quite a long time. I do wonder about some of the jokes and some of the stand up. I wonder how much it holds up, because obviously what's acceptable or what's in comedy shows obviously has sort of changed quite a lot. But I think he always kind of pushed the boundary at the time. So
is this where you get cancelled? Is that what you're saying? We got this far and we don't get to the end.
No one thought that we'd get to the end anyway. It's fine.
True.
I mean, I don't often hear it being referenced. I don't hear.
That's a good point.
I don't hear it being like celebrated. It's never on TV now as an example. I don't know if or what streaming service it's on. I've got it on DVD, but you don't hear about it as well as you do. I mean, again, you just don't hear about the Vietnam War, like all of the movies.
Well, even like you were saying, like Apocalypse Now and Full Metal Jacket, like they were at a time, right? I remember them being on TV or being in the zeitgeist like all the time. Whereas now, I mean, like you said, I can't remember the last time anyone would have mentioned or seen any of those films.
Yeah. I mean, there's still it's kind of almost now tailored to kind of the aftermath, isn't it? What was the Netflix movie, the Spike Lee one, To Five Bloods, that came out in 2020, and that was
and
that was that was quite big. But again, it's kind of going back into Vietnam, sort of once now that they're old type thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
interesting.
and that did quite well on Netflix, nominated for an Oscar and stuff.
Did it make it to your list though? Did it, Andy? The important one?
No, funnily enough, I've still not seen it. It's it was
maybe
quite big at the
2.
time, like Spike Lee. Yeah, I mean, I know that you love a Netflix movie, so.
Oh dear. Wow.
Cool.
Well, I mean, I think I'm going to join you in the prediction room this week. Let's see
nice.
If we can see what we think Freddie's going to think of this.
Okay. Well, we'll send out friends. Help yourself to gelato and popcorn, and we'll settle in, and we'll see you after the jump. Yeah. Well, welcome into the comfy seats, Kev. I know you don't.
Since I've been here.
Yeah, you don't get to come in here very often.
I know it makes it more enjoyable because it's so rare. And it just reminds me how tiresome my job is of stacking these shelves.
There's a new fridge.
What? Oh, God, everything this place.
So, what do you think? What do you think?
I think you're going to really like this. I reckon. I'm going big and bold. I think Robin Williams, like you said, it'll be interesting to see how dated some of the comedy is. But like you said, he really cooks in this, doesn't he? Like he really goes full Robin Williams. And I think the story is good. I think it's well put together for memory. So I think he's going to really like it. What do you reckon?
I don't know. I think I'm not as bullish as you. I think I'm wondering how much of the comedy sort of feels dated. I don't think there's too many references, but there's like a few references like Richard Nixon and stuff like that, which I think we'll just go over. We'll go over his head to a certain extent. Just because it's not in the popular culture, whereas for us it was. So I wonder about that. I think the energy that he brings to the film, Robin Williams, not Freddie, is obviously like so high and like manic. I think he'll enjoy that. And I do think there is that blend of comedy and kind of tragedy as well, which I think he'll like. I just wonder whether the stand up sort of part of it,
You think
whether the
Yeah.
DJ part of it's gonna stand up today.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'll be really interested to see what the film's like as well. Like, I think, like you said, it's a really good blend of the two. So I'm confident. I think he's gonna like it.
Yeah, nice. Well, we'll go back outside. We'll put it on.
Yeah.
We'll see after the jump.
Well, I'm gonna look in this fridge first. Come on, let's see what's going on.
That's strictly for me. I mean, there's a
Oh man.
there's a number lock on it.
Awful. It was so rubbish. It was an awful movie.
Talk
didn't
us through
expect
it.
that.
Well, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that this was after a big day at work, so I was quite tired. And
You weren't-
that-
Why is he
in
making me
a-
watch this film? I want to
And
You
go
weren't
to
in a
bed.
hyper mood.
I wasn't,
Just had
but
too
that
much
was like-
energy.
That was like, let's watch it now. You know, keep you awake. You know, enjoy some laughs. And I didn't laugh at all during the film. I thought it was absolutely stupid. I didn't find it funny. I think, as we'll probably discuss, it has not aged well with a lot of things.
Yeah, a lot of
Um,
the content.
yeah. So yeah, I just did not enjoy the movie, and the fact that this is the final Robin Williams film on the list, suggesting it's so high, is ridiculous to me.
It's no
Oh.
Dead Poets to you, but Kev will be like, well, it's way better than Dead Poets.
He's definitely way better than Dead Birds. Yeah. Oh wow. Okay, I didn't expect that. That was,
Bombshell.
Yeah, it was bombshell. I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready for that. Like you're talking about. Oh yeah. Do you still enjoy it then, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely aged, isn't it? I think like
Yeah.
in a lot of ways, I think we've talked about it before. It's very much an 80s film where there's like a bunch of storylines that they just don't bother really exploring, or they like sort of they sort of show and then they're like, yeah, but don't worry about that. Actually,
moving on.
we just do this. And then it does get to the like 90-minute mark, and it's just like, okay, we're just going to wrap this up now, if that's okay with everyone. we're done. We've got to an hour and a half, 10 minutes. Are we all good? And then it just sort of finishes so abruptly.
Yeah, it is a strange one. I obviously I've seen this like many times before, and like obviously when I was a lot younger, and as we've mentioned before, there'd always be sort of these movies on TV, and when they're on TV, it's all a little bit different, right? Like you kind of paying attention, not paying attention. So just like sitting down and watching it, like you said, I was like, geez, yeah, it's like it's a bizarre film, isn't it? Like it really is a bit strange when you think about, like you said, the actual storylines. Nothing really happens. It sort of comes in. He's like gone within like a month or something.
Yeah,
Like,
well, I was wondering
terrible.
how long is it supposed to be over? Like, is it? Yeah, that's the thing. Is it just like 4 weeks, or is it actually like 6 months, and they're just not very good at showing the time?
Yeah, the time. Yeah. It
Was there
strange. It can't
any bits that you did like, Freddie? Any redeeming qualities? Or was this
I
your
liked
visitor?
I liked the army van scene where he's talking to all the army guys. I thought that was a good. I like that to like show that he's had such an impact. I thought that was quite nice. So I enjoyed that scene. And I think the only joke that I wrote down that I did enjoy was when I think his name was like Lieutenant Howe or something, the guy who tries to take over from him, does his bit and then stands up and looks at everyone and says, I think some apologies are ordered. I think that's the only time I thought it was quite funny.
They're all trying to warn him. Look, you're just not funny. This isn't funny. Please,
It reminded me of this podcast.
Oh wow!
Well, I mean,
the burns are coming thick and fast.
I'm sure we'll get to Kev thinking that he's that guy in the what character he most likes. So we'll
No spoilers.
Yeah, I mean, funnily enough, this time, and I always kind of remember this being true. I do think the funnier bits are actually just sort of the interplay when he's just like chatting to people, almost sort of more than the radio program itself. I very much got like Office vibes from this. It's a bit like there's sort of the group of them, and there's like the sarcasm in the background and kind of the comments to people, and it sort of reminded me of probably more of the American Office, but basically like how they're all interacting with each other. And like I mean, the bit where they're also explaining sort of having their office meeting and about Richard Nixon coming in and stuff like that. Obviously, that's almost funnier than any of the radio broadcasts when they're talking about escalating the Vietnam War, so that Bob Hope will come and play, and they're like, no, we're not gonna escalate the war just so we can get a better comedian. And I think that was sort of just evident that almost the bits not on the radio, because the radio stuff I think hasn't aged particularly well, all of the characters and stuff. I mean, obviously it's Robin Williams sort of doing his characters, but I don't think that's I just don't think that's aged well.
There's definitely like a couple of scenes where he like really cooks, like he's really going at it. And I think like you said, Freddie, when he's with all the army people and he starts going then on the trucks. So it's impressive to see, because you'd imagine so much of that's probably ad-libs, and it's impressive to see how he just burns through it and he just like thinks of jokes so quickly, and he's speaking so quickly as well. It was impressive to see, but I think, as you said, it wasn't necessarily that funny, and a lot of it doesn't really necessarily age that well. But I did think it was an interesting, I think, as you said, and in part one, think about Apocalypse Now, Full Metal Jacket. There was a different type of war movie to sort of look at it from a different aspect of, there is probably hours and hours and hours of time where you're just sitting there, people are just sitting there doing nothing. And they bring these people over to try and entertain them and keep morale up so that people, aren't low or aren't, falling asleep. And so it's an interesting dynamic to think, you kind of have to have these sort of almost like the court jester has to be brought along as well to war to make sure that everyone is, happy and moving along. So I thought that was interesting looking at it from that point of view, especially when you think about Apocalypse Now, where it's very much in the war and it's like dark, right? It's super dark. So this was interesting to see it from a different side.
Yeah, but, well, almost the serious, because the Vietnam bit I think is actually done well, because it's just on it's like a sort of a dark kind of threat just on the outside of the film. And I think that's, especially I think a lot of the music kind of interspersed then with scenes from the war, I think is really good, especially as like a lot of the music is like, all about love and sort of 60s music, and yet it's playing over like napalm bombings of villages and things like that. And I do think that that sort of side of it where they're sort of saying, well, what is going on here, and almost not making light of it, but kind of comparing the two things, where it's I think that the Wonderful World montage I think is just a brilliant scene, because it's kind of like you've got the song going over with then the images of war, and it was kind of that thing, I think, and obviously this is set in the 60s and it's an 80s film, but that thing of like, okay, this was going on, and there were people going over to Vietnam doing kind of horrific things, and but being bored at the same time and stuff like that. And I think that it kind of captures that kind of question about, well, what was going on here, and almost sort of how bizarre going over there was at the time, which I think sort of for me kind of permeated all Vietnam movies and stuff like that, because obviously we didn't really look at it at school or anything, but that was kind of the image of the Vietnam War that you had. And still for me, this sort of brings up a lot of memories of just kind of learning about the 60s, learning about the war and things like that. So I do think like some of the settings and stuff are really good.
Yeah, it's definitely, it sets things up nicely. I think there's some good content from that point of view, but I guess, they just sort of let the story go by the wayside a little bit.
But
Was
I
there
don't think
anything
I don't think they didn't. It's almost like they didn't know what they wanted to do. Like it's sort of comedy drama. Yeah, which way are we going? Well, we'll try and do both, and then maybe don't hit for either.
Yeah, I think it's definitely an interesting one. I'm going to be keen to see where it goes in your list when we get to it. But go on then, Freddie. Let's unleash. What did you not like about the film?
Well, I mean, literally from the scene when he arrives, there's obviously questionable comments about women, and obviously they're all looking the same as he gets all, which is just it was just instantly off the bat. I was like, what is this? I thought the whole romance stuff was rubbish because he's just clean. It's not like he's actually in love with her. He's just like on holiday and he's like, I want to get with a girl. It's like there was no actual love in that, so that was random. As you and he said with like how things go nowhere. I don't know why they went into the Vietnam forest, and then I know it kind of grew with the little kid, but that was just kind of a pointless 5 minutes. So we just did that. And
well, I thought that's what I mean. That's really evil by the the boss to send them in somewhere that he knows they're going to die. When I was watching that, I was like, wow, that's really dark that he doesn't like this guy, and he's gonna send him. Yeah, basically sort of send him to his death, because that's the army, and you can do that. You can send someone to somewhere that's unsafe so that they get blown out. And
I did think that, like, obviously it's really evil, but if he really hates the guy that much, so like I wouldn't be surprised if Kev was to be like, yeah, you should go to a war-torn country, Andy.
I'd happily do that. Yeah, I'm on board.
Yeah, just to get a new host.
Well, and then the general is like, "Oh, you're just mean." You're like, "No, he's not. He's not mean. He's a psychopath. He just sent someone who he didn't like his radio program, and so he just sent him basically to his death." That's that's a bit strange.
It is a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Because they kind of have to they're shoehorning that in to give you the reveal of the kid and go, "Oh, who are actually the good guys and who are the bad guys?" But it is a bit clumsily done, isn't it? Like it's sort of like you're right. Would he really do that? I mean, I don't know. I guess none of us have been in the army or at war, so I don't know. But you would hope that doesn't happen.
But I think that's also sort of the chaos of Vietnam from other movies, and obviously for any listeners who might take a point with it. Obviously, we're not talking about the actual Vietnam War because we don't know anything about the Vietnam War. We're talking about how it's depicted in movies. And I think there is always kind of it was so disorganized that basically people could kind of do whatever they want in power, and people were the higher up, like there's always that kind of higher up in the military were just doing stupid stuff, and kind of the soldiers always had to suffer, and that that kind of goes through pretty much all Vietnam movies of like, okay, the average soldier just has to go and do something because there's a general somewhere that kind of thinks that they should do it, but isn't actually going to be involved in it. So
it is a crazy one, isn't it? I mean, we've covered this a few times. Like when you think about war now, it's just like it just seems so bizarre. But was there any questions that you think the film answers ready?
No, just why am I watching this? I thought,
what am I doing with my life?
Everything I've noted down for today is just, I mean, one question I did have is why do they have banned records in the room? Well, what's the point of that? Why are they in there if you can't play them? It's literally pointless. It was just, I was like, why has he got access to, if you don't want to play them, take them away. It's not hard.
Maybe it's just a suitcase. It's a suitcase of records. They've come in from the car boot sale. No one knows what's in them. So.
What's in here? God, can you imagine as well if you just had to listen to like really terrible music all the time? You'd have been like, this is just, I'm not sure this is better. This is worse. I'd rather have the radio off.
Who's
Yeah,
listening?
man.
Is the question.
Yeah, well,
The
that's
question for the
Is
pod
anyone listening?
as well.
What about you, Andy? Was anything you had any questions you asked or answers?
Yeah, no, I think it kind of goes back to obviously like radio here, but we've talked about it for film again, and it's like, is media supposed to be like informing or inspiring or just entertaining? And I think that's kind of part of the message, especially with the censorship and stuff like that. You know, that's a really difficult line to walk, right? Okay, well, you can't tell
Yeah.
people what's really going on because it will, yeah, kind of impact morale. And yeah, I
Yeah.
you know, I kind of agree with that. Like you obviously, yeah, you don't want people, you don't want to be doing stuff that's going to, yeah, completely, yeah, kind of wreck the morale. But then, you know, how much do you trust people to actually be able to kind of, yeah, hear the news and take things from it and stuff like that. And I think that's sort of as pertinent now as it ever was.
I think you're right. It comes back to that sort of is ignorance bliss scenario, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
it's better to not know than know. And it's a fine line, isn't it? Because you'd want to know why you're going to war, why you should be there. But then also, as they're talking about all the bombs and things, you're like, do you need to know that and be scared before you potentially go into battle? And yeah, it's a tough one. And then, as you say, it's sort of now we're in that world outside of war, or just in normality, where we have that sort of access to news, and obviously it's used against us in a different way across social media. So it's yeah, sometimes it's better to be in the matrix, isn't it, than
just plug me in. I do think they sort of they shoehorned in a little Buddhism, which, yeah, again, you kind of feel like they shot a lot, and I'm not sure how much they cut out, but I think it was, I mean, I swear, when he goes to their village, when he goes to like the girl and his friend's village, I swear I've never seen that before. I'm pretty sure that was
really?
edited out of the TV version. Because they see all the Buddhists meditating and stuff, and then even in the class, you know, where they sort of make a joke of it, but when he's like talking to Wilf, and he's like, you know, the lady spills soup on you, she's getting forks, she's stabbing you, and he's just like, well, you know, we're all waiting to die. Obviously, like that is a joke, and it is a line, but it is also, yeah, quite Buddhist in a way, isn't it? It's like, well, no, I'm not going to react. I'm not just going to do something. And so, again, yeah, I mean, with a lot of 80s movies, you're like, yeah, I wonder how much of an argument it was in the editing room, and maybe there was more there. And it's like, well, no one cares about Buddhism. Why are you going to put that in a movie?
Yeah.
So
no one even knows
like
what this is. What are you
there's
doing?
just these edges to it. I mean, the music, I think, is still really great. I do think this is the first time that I'd ever heard James Brown. Not on this watch, but originally. And I wondered, for you, Freddie, like, yeah, with any of the sort of 60s music, have you heard those songs before? Did it sort of, make you think like, oh yeah, these are good tunes, or was it just like, okay, this music's rubbish as well?
No, well, the music that Robin Williams' character played, obviously, was better than the band music.
Yeah, you're not listening to polka all of a sudden.
I think I'd heard. I can't remember any specifics, but I remember recognizing some of the songs. I can't remember if they played the Beach Boys, but I think they mentioned them, and Dad listened to them quite a lot. So I know a lot of those anyway. But I'm pretty sure I knew quite a few of the songs.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, because I did. Yeah, this for me definitely. But probably Beach Boys probably wasn't, but like, for a lot of the other music, this was definitely sort of, introducing to the 60s. Because even back then, I think, like, you know, the 60s just as a time, and we talked about a little bit at the start, like, it was way more prevalent than it is now, but at the same time, you just sort of discovered it. And I think as you kind of got a bit older and watched some of these films, and this is I mean, because this is a bit more lighthearted than this is very 60s, because then obviously like other Vietnam movies is more 70s, and obviously the 70s were quite dark just as a whole. So like I think it's still got some good tunes in it.
Yeah, the music definitely, What about
Yeah.
then the deep fakes? Anyone that you would deep fake in here, Freddie?
No,
Yeah.
there's no
He
saving
wouldn't
it.
do it. Wouldn't do it to them.
There's no saving this movie. I don't think. I just I can't. Yeah, there's nothing that will save
There's
this
nothing
movie
I
for
can
me.
do. I don't want to like compare you to your dad, but the last movie we did, we prepared 0 notes. I'm not saying that this is coming across exactly the same.
I have
it
notes.
feels
They're just all negative.
What about you, Andy? Any room
No, I
for
didn't. Yeah, I
in this
didn't.
one?
No, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't think that
Mm.
there was any. Yeah, I didn't think that
No.
anyone would add anything in. Yeah, obviously no one could replace Robin
Yeah, you
Williams,
can-
and
Yeah.
yeah, and then obviously like I think some of the supporting cast also. I mean,
Mm.
yeah, Forrest Whitaker I think is actually quite good, and it has like a presence in the film that I think again like could be forgettable, but actually I think he's almost the character who has the biggest arc in the
Yeah,
film,
yeah.
and it's not obviously given a lot of screen time, but
No.
you could almost like make it his film of like okay, because he has a few funny lines, especially when his life flashes in front of his eyes, and he says it's not even interesting to me. And then like it's kind of Robin Williams coming in and like showing that he shouldn't be as authoritarian, and like you've got to get into trouble a bit more, and almost if there's a version of the film that focuses more on him than Robin Williams, because Robin Williams just learns nothing throughout the film. There's no character arc there. He's exactly the same when he leaves as he is when he arrives. He travels very light. When he leaves, he's just got like the one small duffel bag. So I appreciated that. And then you've got the sergeant. He's obviously the guy from the best friend from When Harry Met Sally, although he puts on a bit of weight for that. And then the journalist from the original Batman as well, which is always nice to see.
There you go. Like, who knew it was such a star-studded cast?
Well, things I was thinking about that, and like who Robin Williams has worked with, and if you sort of think of all of his films, he's worked with like the best actors like going. I mean, he's worked with both Pacino and De Niro. He's Jeff Bridges, Ed Norton. He's had, he's directed with Spielberg, Terry Gilliam, Gus Van Sant, Harold Ramis, Robert Altman. Like he really, like for like a comedian then going into film, he really,
impressive.
he worked with like the best actors and the best directors. Christopher Nolan as well for Insomnia. Like, I do think there is something that's what makes him quite special. And finally, I was listening to an interview about him, and they sort of said like he's a comedian that was always looking to connect with the audience. And I think that's like he never went into like angry humor. He never went into like just kind of sort of being really negative or being angry at someone. And I think considering how much improv and how quick his humor is, actually kind of looking to make those connections and not have like the negative side, and actually like have the comedy kind of bring people together. I do think that's really special, because it's very easy when you're going that quick to just be, who I hate the just to try and get the easy laugh. And he never did. And I think that's why he's a bit different, I think, to most people who have sort of trodden the same path.
Yeah, and you can see that in some of these scenes. I think like when he's cooking, right? Like it's just like flying, like it's absolutely coming out at like 1,000 miles an hour. And like you said, the content's always generally like light. It's not like dark or so. He's always trying to connect to make people happy, right? Rather than at the expense of others.
Apparently, he hated doing the radio show stuff because there wasn't an audience, and he kept sort of saying like, "Oh no, that wasn't funny. Like, let's do it again." And like everyone was like, "No, that was really good. That was really funny." And he's like, "No, I didn't feel funny, because there wasn't an audience." Yeah, sort of that he could like get that energy from and that interaction, which I think is then when he's with the soldiers, that's kind of yeah, like that almost sort of shows that, you know, the audience is in front of him, and yeah, in some ways it's almost very true to life, I think, to him. And yeah, again, because it's an 80s movie, you don't really see anything about his life apart from like he just has no attachments. He has no, like, you don't find out that does he have a family? Is there like anyone who cares? He just kind of, he comes in, does his thing, and then blows back out again. But like, yeah, but obviously is trying to make that connection, and that's, you know, even, yeah, I don't think it's a love story, but even like with that, and like then the English class, and like doing the, you know, playing softball and stuff, he's trying to make that connection with people. And I think that's almost at the heart of the film, is that connection, which again, I think because it's Robin Williams, I think he just does it so naturally, whereas with other people it could have felt, well, for Freddie, even more forced. But for me, maybe just a little bit more forced.
Did you two generally, like, were you two in stitches watching this movie? Did you generally laugh and find things funny? I think I laughed twice.
No, because I know all the jokes, so it's a bit, you know, it's a bit fun enough, like talking to your dad. But no, it's because we've seen this film so many times. You're remembering when it was funny, and obviously, yeah, watching this, I don't know, like 20, 30 years ago. It kind of, it was funny. Although again, like a lot of the references would have gone over my head then, and even now, like some of the references, you just, I have no idea who they're talking about.
I found that. I was like, I wonder if it was done more modernly with, like, because there's so many mentions of presidents and things, and I haven't got a clue. So I did wonder if it was more modern and it was references I knew, it'd be a tiny bit funnier. He's like, he's doing impressions. I'm like, I have no idea what this guy sounds like. I don't know if this is good or not.
I think that's fair. I think if it had been more modern references, and even not only that, it's very US focused references as well, right? So it's not even worldly one. It's very, you know, political references. What about the characters then? Who are you set up as, Freddie?
So when they go to the shrimp shop after he's got fired, and he's playing with the shrimp, the waiter or the chef or whoever comes over, and he's always talking Vietnamese to the guy, and he translates and he just goes, the guy just said, "That's not funny." I was like, there we go. That's me. I was like, that's yeah. I heard it. I was like, there we go. That's the answer to that one. I'm that guy, because this is not funny. This is just stupid.
It's shrimps on his fingers, though. He's making them walk as though they're Elvis. So that's funny, isn't it?
I actually also wrote down who Andy was, because I can't remember the scene or the line, but the Hal guy who's awful. One of the guys complimented him. I was like, that's Andy. Compliments some rubbish jokes.
The shots just been fired all over. I think.
Well, I mean, I'm happy with this, Andy. This is going well. Continue. If you had the option, Freddie, to watch all three Lord of the Rings, I know you've not seen the Return of the King yet, but if you had the option to watch all three versus this, what do you think you would choose?
I don't know, because it's going to be quicker, isn't it?
It's a lot quicker.
It's a lot quicker.
So says the TikTok generation.
Yeah, that's a very good question. To be fair, when I was watching, so I was like, how have I found Life with Brian funnier than this? I don't like.
Brian, it's a weird one, isn't it? It's very sort of. It is just crazy, right? I think it is more connected. Really? And anyone can just see it. Whereas I think you're right. This is very US 60s jokes, and so it's probably I would imagine definitely someone from your generation probably not finding it funny at all. Nah. What about you then, Andy? Which character were you?
I didn't really have anyone. I mean, I don't think any of the characters actually. There's essentially no characters.
You didn't go for Robin Williams? You fancy that?
No, I don't. Yeah, well, the only thing that I kind of see very much is just like he can't help himself, even when he's getting like told off. Like the funny lines are still coming to him, and he just can't help but yeah, sort of answer back. And I think that's probably why a military career is not on the cards for me. Is that like if someone said something stupid, I just wouldn't be able to sort of stop myself from making a comment back, and probably getting myself sent all over the world to very nasty places because of it.
We've got this great new place you should go to. It's it's really safe. You should get out there, see what's going on. I went for General Taylor because I was like, this guy's just like, this is how war's done. He's just like, oh, we're here. I mean, just do whatever needs to get done, keep people happy, and then let's get home. Like, stop worrying about everything. You know, it's I thought his character was quite good.
I mean, if you have to be in a war, be the general. I think that's definitely that's definitely the learning from this. I do think it's also he does have a great line, doesn't he, when he says it's just military politics. They just like him more than you, and you're like, is that politics, or is that just they just like him more? Did you have any
lines?
Yeah, well, I think there's just some funny ones. I think that when they're in the bar, I think it's funny where he says it's homely in an opium type way, and that was that was quite funny. Again, the my life flashed before my eyes and wasn't even interesting to me, and then he says I just saw myself arranging rakes by size in my mom's garage, and you're just like thinking of like what the least interesting thing that you could be doing, arranging rakes by size is probably
that's what happened in the 60s.
Quite is quite high up there. When they're criticizing him and say Captain Hawk sucks the sweat off a dead man's balls. I don't know what that means, but it can't be good. Although that was all of the bits where they're kind of criticizing him.
Reading out
even like I think all of the bits where they're on the phone, really, where they're just like, no, I'm fairly sure that isn't water concrete, and like just dealing with people calling in and just saying stupid things. I thought that was quite funny. And then I thought not one for the podcast. But I think when he says, I know there's no way, doesn't mean we can't have a few laughs. Fred's just for you. Probably don't use that as a chat up line. That's probably not. That's probably not gonna work that well.
A lot of things he said weren't exactly exactly the way I would go with things.
Dating in the 60s, well, dating in the 80s. A lot of those felt very 80s rather than 60s. It was just a different time. I liked the insult. Sometimes your face looks like a fish in the Gulf of Thailand. I thought that was that's an interesting insult. But then also when he gets into the fight and the owner of the bar was there, and when he says like, I've never seen someone who's as big as you with as many muscles with with no penis. It's funny that Jimmy then shouts out, he meant that as a compliment. and then he's just like trying to de-escalate things.
Trying to diffuse it,
I'm not sure how you can mean that as a compliment. But then he also thinks that Hong Kong is the home of the shiny green suit, which when we were in Hong Kong, I don't remember many
didn't see many. Maybe they're all like used up in the 80s and the 60s.
Yeah. How about you guys? Any lines that stood out or anything? I'm sure that you've got some comedy gold for ones describing the pod.
Well, I definitely have. I had the one with the sergeant who's trying to be funny, who like takes over from him, and then he's like, "In my heart, I know I'm funny," and I was like,
he just looks so serious when he does it as well. That is the only time when you just feel a bit sorry for him. The rest of the time, it's just funny, and then he's just so earnest when he says that. You're like, oh, bless.
Yeah, I know. It's a shame. But no, for the pod, I had, you are about to embark on a journey that will make you feel good. So,
nice.
Sometimes and often, unless you're Freddie. Not times.
Unless you're Freddie. How about you, Fred? Any lines at
I
all?
really enjoyed. No.
What were the what were the two bits that made you
The
laugh
one
then?
when Hal like stands up after he's done his bit and says, "I think apologies are ordered." That was
Yeah.
funny. And actually, I was writing down
Yeah.
when they go, him and the other guy go into Vietnam, and obviously the car gets blown up and they're walking, and then the kid finds them. I turned to Dad because we're watching together, and I said, because they literally come up like right next to the car, and I
Yeah.
go, "So did they just go in a circle?" And then literally, then he goes, "You've taken us round in a circle because you've got a limp." And I was like,
Yeah,
that made me
exactly.
laugh because I'd actively just commented on it. So that one was quite
Yeah.
funny because I actually turned to Dan and he basically was like, "Wait," and they said that. I was like, well, now I've got to write it down because it was kind of funny because
Creating your own humour
yeah,
for the film.
exactly. So yeah, that's literally the only two lines that I wrote down that I found funny.
Yeah,
Everything else was
it was they're
Mm.
like, oh, we've made it to Cambodia, and then he's like, well, your leg was dragging us to the left the whole time. It's quite funny. Yeah, so yeah, a few 3-star reviews. Starting off strong. This is one of the best films ever made, ever. 3 stars. I'm not
Yeah.
not sure not sure whether that person knows the rating system.
when
And
was that?
then
When was that rated as well? What year did that
oh, so
rated?
no, it's in the
1960.
all
The
of them were
best film
actually
ever
were from
made.
the
Ridiculous.
2010s.
It's ridiculous.
I mean, you get
Oh,
people who
really?
haven't seen a lot of films. Not everyone. In their podcast, this is literally the last episode. They're like,
That's
boom,
ridiculous.
Yeah.
done. Although they can't like
Number
films
one.
very much if they think the best film ever made is still 3 out of 5. That's a high
Yeah.
bar, I would say.
That's
Well, as soon as
bizarre. I just don't understand what people do.
when they
Like, why complete a review if you're only going to give it 3 stars when you absolutely loved
I mean,
it?
when they watch another film, they'll be well impressed that they can give it 4 stars because anything is better than this. So this is their 3-star. I can't wait to see that their 5-star is Life of
I
Brian.
think
Yeah, they're like, wow, really? Could get really much better.
Yeah.
Couldn't
I
they?
think we've had this before where we've asked, is this the first film they've ever watched? And so,
Yeah. You can imagine.
someone said again, as we've had with a few films where it's set in different places, enjoyed it as I've been to Vietnam for 11 weeks in the north doing conservation work near Sapa. You're like, yeah, okay, you
Nice.
saw it as a travel show.
A travel
Okay.
guide.
Yeah,
Did he?
nice.
I hope he didn't try listening to a radio and think, "Oh, this guy's not as funny."
That's what BMX Bandits was like for me.
Yeah, just
The travel show.
just a travelogue. Have you found the water park that you can take your bike down yet?
I mean, still looking for that. That still eludes me.
Someone said I gave this movie 3 stars because of the rather crude, rude, and 4-letter word usage. Marking
Yeah,
it
they're loving
down
that.
for the swear words, I think is an interesting one.
Mm.
And then someone said movie contains great comedy and drama almost at the same time, which I think is the telling thing. Almost at the same time, a
Yeah.
realistic depiction of what Nam was really like. I'm not sure that person was
No.
in the Vietnam conflict. I'm just
No.
I'm going to throw that out. Maybe it was, and actually, like, this
Yeah.
is the truest depiction, and obviously we have no idea. So
No, we don't.
maybe it is. And then I did love one this was the title as well as the review. You call this very good condition, and that was it. And I just thought,
Wow.
It sounds like he's just complaining about the box's DVD came in.
yeah, no, he is. He definitely is.
Yeah.
And unless he's complaining about the film standing up to the test of time
Yeah.
from being in the 60s and 80s.
wow.
So yeah, double feature. Feds, what would you watch to take this out of your mind, to make you forget?
So I was like, Life of Brian came up to me because it was funnier, and then I was also watching this. I was like, having now watched 2 other Robin Williams films, it's always the exact same film. Realistically, he's just like Dead Poets. He comes in and goes at the end. Good Will Hunting, he doesn't go at the end, but technically to Will, he does go at the end because he leaves him. So it's like he just comes in, makes some kind of impact, which always seems to be negative. Someone dies, someone
That'd be
the
bad.
country goes to war. So then I was like, do we watch another one of his?
And then I was like, actually, I'll just put literally anything else on so you can have Avengers Endgame because I'd rather let's just watch some
Wow.
actual action.
Go back to the favorite. I mean, I would say not to sort of to avoid the letters in from the Robin Williams estate. You've watched only a few films, and obviously they're films that I like, which have that as a pattern in them. There's quite a lot of films where he does other stuff. To be fair,
we could have at least watched Jumanji or something because that one's good.
Yeah, you know. No, but yeah, you know, he comes in, he does something.
Actually, the same exact issue. Actually,
with Aladdin, he can't. Oh, wait a second. Actually,
yeah, he goes back into the lamp. Yeah.
Okay, 1 hour photo or Insomnia. You can watch those.
Oh yeah,
and you
1
can
hour
see,
photo.
I funnily enough, I just watched Fisher King, which is one of his early Oscar nominations, and again, very very good, pretty bizarre. But yeah, that's on your dad's list for this year, Fred. So maybe watch that one again. Funnily enough, directed by Terry Gilliam, who's one of the Monty Python people who basically like did the alien bit in Life of Brian. He's that guy. So yeah, maybe watch that and you can kind of see what happens when Monty Python crosses a little bit with Robin Williams. It was a bit strange, but also a very good movie.
Yeah,
how about you, Kev? What did you go for?
I went for The Social Dilemma, the sort of updated version of the real life propaganda, or sort of real life that we currently live in.
Inverted commas, not really a podcast type thing, but we appreciate it.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought that would be good because that was good. That is quite a good film, and it's the same. It has some of the same pieces and like sort of the propaganda piece. I thought that would be quite interesting. What about you?
I went for Deer Hunter. So if you watch Deer Hunter and like you saw how bleak Vietnam movies could be, and then you watch this, you'd be like, wow, that's I definitely prefer Good Morning Vietnam to Deer Hunter.
I think if you'd have started off ready with Deer Hunter, then this it might have been a different outcome. But
that's is kind of part of the thing that like Vietnam Wars, Vietnam films. Like this is a way lighter one because there's not a lot of lighter films that does still have a message, which I think is why I sort of like. Okay, I'll go time, Kev.
Yeah, okay. I had Jojo Rabbit, Life is Beautiful, and Catch 22.
Okay. Yeah. I get those. Yeah, Jojo Rabbit's
Jojo's
is a good one. So the algo, went with Catch 22 as well. Put in MASH.
No.
The movie rather than the TV series.
Come on.
Three Kings. And
with
then
George Clooney.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it's not funny. I think I haven't actually sat down and watched it, but I kind of remember it. I don't. Three Kings isn't funny.
Stop.
Yeah, well, they go back into Iraq, don't they, to basically like steal money and stuff. But I don't think it was it's particularly funny. And then Dead Poets and Fisher King there's a couple of Robin Williams films. So I think I'll give you the points for Jojo. I think that's a good shout.
Easy win, I reckon, on that one. Nice.
Yeah. Well, that's the first one in a while. So
it is. Yeah. Well, now that you've brought on the proper new AI bots, let's up my game out. So this is the bit that I want to hear. So it was number 19. Is this the one that's going to go down to 35?
It's got to, surely.
No, it does. It does slip down. It does slip down. Probably, I know, is again sort of going through the list of like, where does it stop? I do that. It does hold a lot of nostalgia, as I say. Like it is the first film that I remember about the 60s. Which then like the music, especially in the 90s and stuff, the sort of music from the 60s was what I would listen to, and was like, yeah, a big part of my life. So and I obviously do like Robin Williams, as we've discussed before. So actually I moved it all the way down to 41.
Wow.
Stopping at Wonder Boys. Then it was like, yeah, this feels like like a 40ish movie. It doesn't hold up. I hadn't watched it for a long time. So was that's as expected, do you think? Or
yeah, I mean, I think, as you said, it doesn't date that well, does it? Which is, I think, unfortunate. So I think that's one of the issues, isn't it? It just doesn't hold up as well. I mean, it's nice, like I said, to see him sort of Kirk, but I just think that's like the only real good thing in it. The rest of it's a bit like not the
Bit
best.
rubbish, bit not funny.
Or rubbish and not funny. It's the other way looking at it.
Dad will be happy. He was like, I think this will be the film that drops to the 30s after we finish it, because Dad watched it, and I mean,
okay.
he also said he was a bit like, yeah, I haven't watched that in a while.
yeah, he's just he's just trying to get on trying to get on the pod. Maybe I mean, he's the sergeant. He's like, no, I've got some funny things to say. No, you're not on this pod. It's fine.
Not funny. Definitely funny.
Jane left the room. She wasn't sticking around. She stuck around for the first maybe 10, 20 minutes, and we kept looking at each other like, what are we watching? And then she realised she had no obligation to watch it. So she left me. So I had to sit through the rest of it.
This is the it's a hard life, isn't it? You've just watched a film about people your age literally going to Vietnam and dying, and you're complaining about watching
and they found it funny than
a 90-minute film. It's a hard life, Feds. No one's debating that.
They found it funny, and that's good on them. But clearly they're either so bored in that war that they have to find it funny, or they've really been through hell, and anything will make them laugh.
Well, this is the 80s version of the 60s as well, which I think is always interesting. What about you then, Kev? Where did it go on your list?
Yeah, so it moved down my list as well, unfortunately. So got it into the OK section. There's a bit of a run, actually. I was just looking at my OK section. There's a bit of a run in there of ones that we've gone through recently. So I had it firmly in there at number 52.
52.
So
what's it above and below for 52?
It is below Bugsy Malone and above The Wedding Singer.
Yeah, Bugsy Malone's definitely better. Haven't watched The Wedding Singer, so I don't know. Don't care.
Yeah, it's not good. Don't watch it.
I'll trust that.
The Wedding Singer is the controversial one. Of it has everything that we thought Kev would like, and it just didn't make it higher up the list. Cool.
Well,
there we
Empire
go.
of the Sun's got to be the biggest shot, isn't it? Like that. I definitely feel like that should have been high.
You need to go and watch that again in a better mood. Cool. Well, thanks. Thanks for coming down to the shop, and it's good to watch films that maybe you don't like every now and again, and it just widens the thing. I want to hear. We'll get you back in season 4 when someone says to you, "Oh, it's like that film Good Morning Vietnam." You'll be able to say, "Oh, yeah, I've seen that." It'll be probably.
Why'd you like it?
It'll probably be less quoted than Life of Brian. It has to be said.
Yeah.
So yeah, for staying on a cheery note for next week, just go now and die in what way seems best to you. Well, we'll see. We'll see if everyone does die at the end of the film. But thanks for coming down, Freddie. Thanks for Tom Miller for the theme song. Actually, we're going to do a double header now. We're going to put Beach Blanket Bingo on the film because that looked like a classic as well. So we'll put it on.